Hello, everybody. I'm Randy Mills, your Sports History Now host, where we bring Kentucky's greatest sports memories alive, one story at a time. Sports History Now. You can find previous episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube. And you can view all Sports History Now podcasts, including a selection of Kentucky sports documentaries, on our website, sportshistoryfoundation.org. Today's episode is brought to you by another of our Sports History Now supporters, Appalachian Regional Healthcare, the healthcare system of Appalachia. Friends like Holly Harris of Appalachian Regional Healthcare help us to continue to bring episodes of Sports History Now to life. And just how rare is it, as Kentuckians, that we can say we produced an all-state high school quarterback who chose to play his college football in-state at Eastern Kentucky University, led the Colonels to a number 1 national ranking, undefeated 13-0 season, and the 1982 NCAA Division I AA National Championship as an All-American quarterback. Wow. Yep, he's one of ours. And I'm right here in the home of a longtime friend here in Pineville, Kentucky, with the legend. He's Gary Tuck Woolum. And it's great to be with you today, Tuck.
Oh, thank you. I tell you, it's an honor to be on here with you guys. And I think it's amazing what you're doing. I've listened to some of your podcasts, and they're super. And I'm just truly honored to be chosen to be on it. So thank you all for coming.
You better believe it. Now, one thing here. Of course, I said something that might not even sounded right. Gary Tuck Woolum. So the first thing we got to do, Tuck, nobody knows Gary Woolum. whole lot of people know Tuck Woolum. So how did you become Tuck Woolum?
I'll tell that story. I sent a text out this morning and to get I forget what I was doing, but on my one of my accounts I was getting some money for a reunion we're having. It says Gary Woolum. And the guy with text that I played with 40 years ago, he says, "Who's Gary?" But the story is, in 1960, I was born in 1961, and my dad would have been a junior at the University of Kentucky. So they named me. My mom was 16 or 17 years old, so my dad was 19, so they didn't have any clue, how to raise a kid or what to do. They didn't know how to name me, so they named me Gary after a guy named Gary Jock Stewart who played at Kentucky. But then, when I was about a year old, Dad would take me to the K house. He used to have a big house where all the players hung out at and this and that. So all the players started calling me Tucky, short for Kentucky. And so from then on, it's been Tucky. Then when I got in college, it went from Tucky to Tuck. And now it's Tuck. Yeah. So not many people know my real name is Gary, but I was named after University of Kentucky football.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, and that moves our conversations. Certainly we know about, and we're going to speak a great deal about the all-state quarterback from Pineville High School, the mountain lion that he was, and of course the EKU national championship days. But I want to get back to the fact that you mentioned your father as a 19-year-older at the University of Kentucky. Your dad, Jerry Doc Woolum, and being around Pineville a good bit, I've always called him Doc, as Doc Woolum. But this is a guy who was a 3-year starting quarterback at the University of Kentucky. And, of course, he graduated from Madison Model High School in 1959 and then began at the University of Kentucky that fall. And, of course, freshmen couldn't play.
That's right.
He was just on the freshman team. So in terms of his varsity eligibility, he was a 3-year starting quarterback at the University of Kentucky. As we talk, I'll insert a few other amazing statistics, but I want folks to know that he did play for Roy Kidd, who you played for at Eastern Kentucky University, of course, at a time when it was Madison Model High School. Today we know about Model Lab School, but at that time they were combined. But real quickly, just to say, of course, he was All-State quarterback in 1958. He was the All-South quarterback, tremendous high school years, and we'll talk about some of his college days as well. What are some of those memories for you, Tuck, as you look back and just hear about your dad's prowess? Maybe kind of starting a little bit with the high school, and if you would, we'd mentioned that he moved to Richmond as a junior, and you might, of course, talk about the reason for that with his father and really his earlier high school days of playing prior to getting to Richmond, if you will.
Well, he actually grew up, he was actually born in Pineville.
Okay.
They lived in Millsboro for a year, lived in Wallace Creek, Kentucky for a while. And my granddaddy was the principal at Everett's High School. And my grandmother worked there, and they had my dad and my aunt and my uncle and my dad's younger sister, I believe. And he grew up playing baseball there, this and that. But then his junior year, my granddaddy got offered to be a professor at Eastern Kentucky State College at the time. And so he picked up and moved all the family to Richmond. And my granddad used to tell a couple of stories. At first, when he first moved to Richmond, the coach was living in a house or an apartment there on campus where old Hanger Field was. And said, I went up and knocked on the door and introduced myself and said, I've got a son here who wants to come play for you, Jerry Woolum. And Coach Kidd told us, now I don't care if you come or not, Leonard, but you're going to bring Jerry. He's going to play for me. And one thing you left out about that, he is the only, or I think he's still the only person that was a two-time MVP of the Rec Bowl.
That's right.
2 years in a row.
Yes,
in high school. But he played for Coach Kidd in high school for 2 years, and of course went on to play for Blanton College, University of Kentucky after that. But I grew up hearing about Rory Kidd and his family, ever since I was little. My grandparents respected Coach Kidd and loved him, and my dad sure loved Coach Kidd, and he was very, very close to him. And Coach Kidd went through some great quarterbacks at the time. He went through Talbot Todd, he went through my dad. Both Talbot and Dad with UK played.
That's right.
A few more, and he had a reunion a few years ago. Coach Kidd and all his quarterbacks back, but it was just a great experience, and listening to the stories of my dad in high school and then going back to college and being a part of it. I've got a picture somewhere, I'm not even sure where it's at, that has all the wives sitting around the radio listening to Kentucky game, and then it says Little Tucky Woolum right next to it. So I'm listening to the game too. Cool. I wasn't even a year old. So,
well, and you mentioned those high school days, and we don't want to totally gloss over his days at Everett's High School in Harlan County, because when all was said and done, between Everett's and Madison Model High School, he won 17 varsity letters.
Yes, he did.
What all sports were those, Tuck?
Gosh, well, he played football, played basketball, played baseball, track. I don't think he played golf because he's not too good at golf.
And then
I'm not sure what else, but he played all sports. And I remember going to school with my grandmother at Richmond Madison. She was a guidance counselor and a sixth grade teacher there. And you walk down the hallway, and in the trophy cabinet was my dad's jersey that they had retired and it hung in there for 30-some years. But I've got it now. They gave it to me when they closed down Richmond Madison.
That's amazing.
But I remember going as a little fella, just sitting there looking at that jersey and thinking, gosh, that's my dad's.
That's inspiring, too. And so the time comes then, as an all-South quarterback, obviously he's well-known, and recruitment kicks in. He makes the choice for the University of Kentucky to play for Blanton Collier. Is that right?
He sure did. I think it came down between, I think, Georgia Tech and Kentucky, and he told me. And he decided on Kentucky, and of course, your freshman year, they couldn't redshirt then. But he loved Blanton Collier, so he came in as a sophomore. They're playing Georgia. I think the second or third game of the year, the quarterback got hurt. Dad went in, and the rest is history. Started every game since then.
Absolutely.
But he always said that Blanton Collier was a gentle giant and was so smart about the game of football. So his IQ of football was unreal, and he was ahead of his time, but he was just a true good human being. And I remember meeting Coach Collier a couple times when I was little, but my dad truly respected him, and ended up being part of the Thin 30 his senior year, which was a total change.
Yeah.
And that wasn't a good story. Last year.
Yeah, let's explore that just a little bit. For one, your father, who I know is Tuck Woolum, threw for nearly 3,000 yards at the University of Kentucky, and his record stood for many years. He was, in his senior year, number one in the SEC for pass completions, number two in percentage at 53%, which was unheard of in those early years of the 60s, number one in yards per attempt. And as you just said, we've got to explore this decision that whoever made, because he was Blanton Collier's starting quarterback in his sophomore and junior year. And that brings us up to the fall of 62. Now, folks need to know, first off, that in the NFL season of 1964, Blanton Collier was the head football coach of the world champion National Football League Cleveland Browns. Yeah, the same Blanton Collier who was at the University of Kentucky. So something happens there at the end of the 61 season. There's a break from Blanton Collier with UK. We bring in Charlie Bradshaw. You can take it from there, Tuck.
But going back to Dad's junior year, he was actually the leading passer in the country going into the 8th grade game of the season and broke his leg against Florida State that year.
Wow.
So, but anyway, so he loved, he had a great career at the University of Kentucky with Blanton Collier. Then starting his senior year, they started the season with 120-some players. And he really, 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 for years, did not want to talk about it. It was just such a bad memory to him. They came in, Charlie Bradshaw came in from the University of Alabama and treated like an Army boot camp, but it wasn't just a boot camp. I think the hazing and the things that went on with the players, by the first game, they got down to 30-some players. And Dale Lindsey was a great player, left with just a couple of names. Western Kentucky, they had all these great, great players. And so, as a matter of fact, we were looking, a guy said, it was on YouTube, the 1962 University of Kentucky versus Tennessee football game. We found it on YouTube, and Dad was looking at it. We were watching, he was explaining it, and Kentucky won that game at Knoxville. They dressed 16 players that game. But we were looking at the offensive line, and he was telling my nephew about it. He said, my center was a third-team defensive back last year. My right guard was a second-team or his third-team running back. I mean, he lost, all their great players. Yeah. And they still had a good year, but they all just quit. And Dad really thought about quitting. But he said he said Charlie Bradshaw's not going to run me off. I'm going to finish my career. And after the season, Blanton Collier was going to draft Dad with the Cleveland Browns. And so Dad and Dave Gash, who was one of his receivers, went and played in the North-South All-Star game down in Miami. And Dad also got invited to play in the Senior Bowl and the Blue-Gray game. We turned both of them down. And told Blanton Collier there's no way he'd ever go play football again because he was so sick of football and wouldn't play, didn't want to be around it, didn't want to be in All-Star games from going through that year with Charlie Bradshaw.
My goodness.
So it's bad memories for him.
For sure.
I know Clarkie Mayfield and Charlie Bradshaw rode to I remember when I was little, Cherokee Lake one year, and Clarkie and Dad were good friends. And they were the same year at UK. And Clarkie was from Harlan County. Ended up being the head coach at Jacksonville State. But he was with Charlie Bradshaw, but Dad would go over and talk to Clarkie because of Charlie Bradshaw. Wow. And then when I was a freshman at Eastern, we played Jackson State. And Charlie Bradshaw was the head coach. And we beat them. So Dad, for the first time, actually went down to the locker room and faced Charlie Bradshaw. And they said, Coach Bradshaw just about started crying and just apologizing for all that he put all those guys through.
Yeah.
So, they've got a book out at 10:30, but they're famous at 10:30.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. A lot of.
But, it's, but going from Blanton Collier to Charlie Bradshaw was a true, really, and, Blanton Collier was a lot like Rory Kidd was a lot like Blanton Collier. So he had Rory Kidd in high school, and Blanton Collier in college, and then Charlie Bradshaw came in and just totally different philosophies.
Yeah. Well, that probably leads us to a lot of docs thinking in terms of going to medical school, making the choice to go to medical school.
Well, that is. And it was funny because he was actually majoring in education. He'd been through 4 years of school and went to the medical school and told them he wanted to go to medical school. He wanted to get in medical school. Well, they looked at his transcript, looked at him, and said, "You're an education major." And they said, "Yeah." So they sort of laughed at him. He said, "Tell you what." They lined him up, gave him a big list of classes he had to take. They told him, you go take all these classes, get a 4.0 in all of them, and come back when you're done and ask us again. So Dad went back to school for 2 years, did nothing but study, had a 4.0 in all those classes, and they let him in medical school.
Wow. That's a great story.
Yeah.
And then how did he land in Pineville? And well, let's just ask that question. How did he land in Pineville?
We were living in Lexington. I was going to Southern Elementary, I believe. I went to Southern Elementary, Lansdowne, a few other schools. But C.B. Stacy, who was one of the founding fathers of the hospital here, helped support my dad and put him through medical school financially. And with Dad gave him a 1-year commitment to come back to Pineville and work for 1 year. Well, 1 year turned into, that was 1973, so I'm still here. He just loved the mountains. That's where he was raised and loved the city of Pineville.
Yes, indeed.
Pineville was a super place to raise his 4 boys, and we all went to Pineville High School, me and my brothers, and Dad coached us and played with him. It was just a great experience for him.
For sure.
Great place to raise his family.
And as a surgeon, let's let everyone know, correct me if I'm wrong, your dad's age, I'm going to guess at about 85.
He's 85.
85 years old, and let us know his working status, if you will.
Well, he's actually,
it's unbelievable.
He's actually out doing, he does some minor surgeries, but he's still working about 2 to 3 days a week.
Wow.
He just doesn't want to give it up. He said, some buddies of his, Aubrey Bailey, who's from Pineville, their dad owns a condo in Clearwater, and Aubrey's gone down there to live. He said, what am I going to do? Go down there and sit with Aubrey at the pool all day? I said, I don't want to do that. But he enjoys working, keeps him young, and you see him out walking every day. He still walks, and he'll go into work 2 to 3 days a week.
Yeah, such a blessing to have that health at his age. Without question. And you mentioned then raising the 4 boys here in Pineville. Let's get you to Pineville. You're coming away from Lexington now, and you're coming to Pineville. Would you say Pineville's a football town?
Gosh, when I came here, it was very much so. I mean, that's one reason we liked him. We stayed here. Bill Adams, who played football at Eastern, was a great center at Eastern, but he was the coach here when we got here, and he'd been here for years. And you go back in the 70s when we first got here, gosh, Fred Bishop, who played at Kentucky, Eddie Bishop, who played at Moorhead, Biff Baden, who played at Western. I mean, just on and on and on, the great athletes. And I think the only team Pineville that I gave Coach Kidd a hard time all the time saying I beat him, but I never did. We could not compete with Corbin, but we used to. I never beat Millsburg. The other schools did, but I never lost to Bell County. We played the Laurel County schools. We played the Whitley County schools, all the big schools, and we were a small school in the state of Kentucky playing football. Mm-hmm. But we competed and beat most of the bigger schools.
Yeah, the tradition is really amazing, and I want to repeat that Pineville's been noted as the smallest school enrollment to field a football team.
That's exactly right.
And then to have teams, even in the 50s, ranked number 1 in the state of Kentucky.
Oh, the 50s and the 60s, they were unreal. Like David Asher and those teams in the 60s.
Who also signed to play at the University of Kentucky.
David Asher signed in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Mike Downey, those guys. I mean, they were Polly Regal. Some great players.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even in the 50s. Then your dad played Pineville.
That's right.
Your dad played here. And
for sure.
And Eddie Wilson and all those guys.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a long tradition of football at Pineville High School, and that's not the same anymore. And, I think once the flood came into Pineville and took a bunch of houses out, we put a new road in, a lot of families left, and so we just don't have the same. But when I was in school, we'd have to walk. Coach Adams wouldn't let us drive. If you were on the football team, you had to walk to school every day. That's how close everybody, we didn't have county kids. We all had city kids. And you couldn't even get in the car during the week. So.
Well, obviously Coach Adams was wanting to keep that tradition going, and your time was coming to do that. So let's take you, say, to middle school, maybe some of the guys you were playing with in middle school, high school, but when you had the opportunity to begin to be the high school quarterback, and also maybe during that time of your middle school years, you've mentioned a couple names like Fred Bishop, Eddie, and so forth. Were there some athletes here in Pineville that were inspiring you and that you were, wanting to grow up and be like?
Well, sure. I think the quarterback on the year Fred and them, the 72 team beat Tree County in the Rec Bowl. Went on, did not lose a game all year long till they played Millsburg the last game of the season. And Millsburg was ranked number 2, I think, or 3 in AA.
Right.
And beat Pineville. And they had a guy named Bimbo Fuson that was unreal. But so because of the Dickinson system, Pineville did not get in the playoffs, and Tree County ended up winning the state championship again. But the quarterback on that team was a guy named Crick Calebs. And, I mean, I'd sit there and watch him. I mean, he was my idol.
Yeah.
I mean, he could play, he could throw, he could run. Gosh, he was good. And Dad came in and actually coached the high school team, and he was a quarterback coach for those guys, for Crit and Fred, and Dad coached for years and coached middle school football here for years.
And you mentioned Crit, and I'll tell you, Speaking of telephone conversations, I recently had a conversation with Fred Bishop, and obviously he was super close to his quarterback, Crit, and Fred Bishop, wide receiver, went on to be a scholarship football player at the University of Kentucky. He said that Crit says, hey, I was a good quarterback. I was all right. I was a pretty good quarterback. But then Tuck Woolum came into my life.
That's right.
And he said when Doc started coaching me, he said that's when I took it to the next level.
Took it to the next level.
Yeah.
And Crit ended up signing the scholarship at Jacksonville State in Alabama with Clark and Mayfield. As a matter of fact, now he didn't stay, but he could have played for him.
Yeah.
So he was a dandy, but he was probably one of my idols as a growing up as a junior high. Then also in junior high when I was in 8th grade, Dad was our coach. My Uncle Kerry was a coach, some other guys, but we had probably 25 guys on our team. So they scheduled us to go to play a all-star team in Madison County. Clark Moore's, it was a brand new school, but we played at Madison Central, and they walked out on the field with 80-some guys, and we wore their heads out. They didn't know these old mountain boys could play that way.
Well, then you moved right on into high school as a starting quarterback, right?
As a sophomore, yeah.
As a sophomore.
Doug Adams was a starting quarterback. Well, I take that back. No, I did. Doug Adams was a starting quarterback my freshman year. Then he ended up getting hurt. So I ended up, then he got hurt the 3rd or 4th game of the year. So I ended up starting the rest of the year then for the next 3 years.
Yeah. Well, in those years, what were some of the big wins that you remember? I know your junior year team, of course, came within one game of playing for the state championship. That might be a year that you recall some.
Oh, very much so. Yeah,
big time games.
The game which we just was on Facebook the other day. They were talking about it was we played Paintsville at Pineville in the 2nd round of the playoffs, I guess, and the winner of that was going on to the semis. And Paintsville was ranked number 2 in the state, and they had like the number 1 defense in the state. They were good. And we ended up beating them 8-6, and we didn't have a first down the whole game. But I did throw a 2-point conversion.
You got to 8 somehow, didn't you?
We picked up a fumble and got ran it back. So, but we didn't have it for them defensively. We held them. But my senior year, which we got destroyed, but I remember playing Millsburg, who was always a lot better than we were. But Teddy Taylor, who played at Eastern, ended up being one of my coaches at Eastern, was my head coach when I was a senior. And he'd call plays, send them in, and I wouldn't listen to him. I'd change it. So against Millsboro that year, I think I threw the ball 62 times in one game. Okay. So I remember that.
That's all right.
But, we had some great games. We played Bellevue in the semifinals when I was a junior. And they had a heck of a good team. A guy named John Sutcamp was their tailback, and they ran a single wing. Not Ballard. Gosh, I can't think of the coach's name. But anyway, they ended up beating us pretty good. It was just. And I played at Lynch a couple times. We beat Lynch in regular season, which was big because Lynch would always go to the playoffs, and we beat them. We got to go. I went to playoffs 3 out of 4 years in high school, so that was when one team went.
That's right. You had to win your district.
You had to win your district
to go to the playoffs. Yeah. Exactly right. And so in that senior year, you throw for 2,000 yards, 26 touchdown passes is what I'm showing, 9 rushing. So you had to tuck the ball every now and then and get 9 rushing yards. Of course, you were all state and the Southeastern Conference back of the year a couple of times, in fact. So always, I think, throwing for over 1,000 yards in each of your high school years, no doubt. Is there a certain game, and hesitate to ask you, but when we start talking about our past in athletics, a loss will jump out at us, won't it? Sometimes you'll think, my gosh.
Well, of course, the Bellevue game.
You got one like that kind of.
Yeah, the Bellevue game, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, we were
so
one game
close.
against the state finals.
Yeah.
And then we go to Paintsville my senior year, and they end up beating us a couple touchdowns. So that was a tough one.
Yeah.
But it's hard to remember all of them.
Yeah.
But it's easier to remember the wins than the losses. But there's quite a few. Of course, never beating Millsburg was always tough.
Yeah.
And which we didn't even come close to beating Millsburg back in those days. But Corbin, I'll tell you a story of Corbin. Coach Kidd came down to watch Steve Bird and I play.
Okay.
Steve Bird and I, who ended up being my receiver at Eastern, was a starting running back and defensive back for Corbin. And I threw 6 touchdowns, I believe, that game. against Corbin. My senior year, Coach Kidd came to watch the game. I threw 3 to Pineville and 3 to Steve Bird. He took 3 of them and took them back for touchdowns.
That's all right.
That's the truth.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, you in terms of your playing days at Pineville, you played whenever they rolled the ball out. You were playing.
Oh, yeah.
Right. What sports did you play?
I played. Well, I had a 4-year letterman in football, 4-year letterman in basketball, 4-year letterman in baseball, 4-year letterman in. Well, we didn't have track. I can't remember 3 or 4 years, but I played golf, which I was terrible at, and I played tennis, which I did that for exercise to stay in shape, but mainly because back in those days you got out of school to go play the matches. Now they have to play, so I get you out of school for half a day. So I joined the golf team, the tennis team, and
well, you may not have known it, but I think you were chasing your dad's record of 17 varsity letters. You must have been had that on your mind.
I can't remember. I had 16 or 17. I'm not exactly sure. But I had a bunch of letters.
Well, I'm going to think that Coach Kidd may have focused more on the 3 touchdown passes. Tuck, let's leave it at that, because here comes the scholarship offer. Had to be a big time in your household. I mean, the relationship that your dad had with Coach Kidd. Tell us a little bit about making that decision to accept the scholarship offer from EKU, even the signing day, and what you remember kind of about the hoopla, if you will.
Yeah, it was, to me, it was a no-brainer. I mean, my whole senior year, I think I went there every game Easter played. And they had me down every weekend. I turned down other visits and other places. And, I mean, to me, it was, I knew where I wanted to play, and again, hearing about Rory Kidd my whole life, I just wanted to be a part of that. So when I got the opportunity to sign, which I got a picture in here, in this room right here, it shows the signing date with me and Teddy Taylor, and they're sitting there signing the thing. But it was, and back then you had 2. You had a letter of intent, then you had a national letter, so you had to sign 2. And I signed my first letter like in November. Or back then, you didn't hear about that. I mean, so, but yeah, I knew where I was going to go, and once I signed, it was just a dream come true to me. And because of course I grew up going to going to Kentucky games too, then going to Eastern, and I didn't get recruited by Kentucky. I think number one because of my size, but I think Kentucky realized Steve Bird and I could have played for them, and neither one of us got recruited by the University of Kentucky. So, which. If they would have recruited me, it'd have been hard maybe to say I wouldn't have gone there, but I never, but I was tickled, I went 46-7 and won 2 national championships and played 2 other national championships in my career, so it's hard to beat that.
You better believe it. How was that transition, leaving Pineville, going to the bigger state university, EKU? Do you remember that freshman year and kind of maybe the demands? I mean, on a football player.
Yeah, I was not prepared to what I was going to have to go through. I mean, here where I was at a small school, 120 people, kids in high school, and 20 some of my graduating class, and 20 guys on the football team. And as soon as I walked in that first day, I was in awe. I was scared to death. Number one, here's an old mountain boy coming from the mountains, and these guys from Florida and Georgia and all over the country, and big old guys. But it was a rude awakening for me, and here I was thought I was a stud going in there, and I found out real quick I wasn't. But I remember one of the first scrimmages I was ever in, and I went back to pass, and we had two All-Americans on defense. A guy named Joe Richards was a nose guard. The guy named George Floyd was a defensive back. Well, I go back to pass, and all of a sudden I see Joe, the nose guard, coming on this side. I didn't see George on the other side, and he blindsided me, and I mean, sacked me, knocked me out. I mean, I was hurting. Coach Kidd, and I'll never forget, Coach Kidd grabbed me and said, "Woolum, welcome to college football, son." I said, "Man, if this is college football, I'm going home." But it was tough. You come in, and when I first went to Eastern, that first year, they had a rule going back to the way it used to be when Dad went to school. They had changed the rule that year where you couldn't redshirt freshmen anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, my senior year in 1979 and 1980 both. And so, I wasn't going to be redshirt.
Right.
And but I ended up making the traveling squad. Got to play in quite a few games, but it was definitely life-changing experience going in there in that first year, the first few months.
Yeah, I'd say you grow up in a hurry, don't you?
You grow up in there, and just the demands of it. And I was
studying.
Studying,
yeah,
and having to study and go to class, but I was so scared of Coach Kidd that I wasn't going to do anything wrong. I mean, I was scared of him. Yeah, he intimidated me when I first went, which he did a lot of people.
Well, a couple of the guys you played for, and we're going to really get into that senior year season at EKU, which was so big time. But mentioning a couple of coaches' names, just say let's really go back and start with your dad real quickly before we get to this EKU senior year. Coaching influences on your life. What about your father's influence in you becoming the young man and football player that you did become?
Number one, the life experiences and everything he taught me as a young man was definitely who caused me to turn out who I was. My dad's always been my number one idol. He's always been there for me. He was my coach. He was my dad. Like I say, when he was 19 years old, I was a year old, and I was running around with him. So I actually grew up with him and my mom. And they weren't sure what to do with me, but I ran around with him. But just the life lessons that he taught me, just how to win, the pride that he taught me to have. Gosh, I could go on and on. Just amazing. And once I got in the sports, he never, ever, ever pushed me to play. If I didn't want to play, he wasn't going to push me. But when I did decide I wanted to play, then he sure taught me. I remember going out, he would take me out throwing all the time. And he's the one that taught me all the techniques of throwing the football, how to play a quarterback. And it's amazing because I went on and played quarterback, and then went on and coached quarterbacks for all these years. And now I look at videos of all these coaches and how they teach players. It's amazing the things that my dad taught me 50 years ago in the basics are still things that they're still teaching now.
Right.
And he was just one heck of a father figure to me and my three brothers.
Well, then you play for a real legendary guy here. I believe it's called Bill Adams Stadium.
Bill Adams Stadium.
Is that right? So, how about the influence of Coach Adams during your high school years?
I mean, like I say, I was scared of Coach Adams too. He had Coach Adams going around with his big pipe and smoking that pipe, and Dad and I would go to camp with him, and Dad would go when I was in junior high school. I mean, I'd watch him play, and I could see, he was intimidating, but he was very fair, very honest, and he taught me a lot. He coached me for 3 years, but he's just another big role model for so many kids here at the school. And he worked you and he taught you how to work, but he cared about you.
Well, they prepared you, and we'll get some Roy Kidd comments as we go along, but they prepared you for talking about upholding traditions and all. You've played in 3 national championship games prior to your senior year.
Right.
And you won one of those, and you fell short twice, which, hey, national runner-up, that's an okay way to fall short. But now it's on you. And so what are we going to do now in this senior year? And I'll say this. As a team captain, you set 5 single-season passing records. Wow. An unreal season. You were prepared well for this season. A few games that I made note of, you were undefeated, but I believe you were on national TV against Murray State, weren't you? Mm-hmm. Tell us about that game.
Yeah, we were on national TV 4 or 5 times my senior year. And we were on national TV like 18 times in my whole career.
Yeah, that's super.
Which was unreal.
Yeah.
More than Kentucky was back then because, I mean, you didn't have all these channels. But anyway, going there, it was a Murray State game was the first night game ever at Eastern. They brought in lights from what's called Musco Company, I think. And they were portable lights they brought in for the game because it was televised. That's when WTBS, Ted Turner's network, was televising Thursday night football games. And so they came in to televise our game against Murray. Well, we were undefeated going in, ranked number 1 in the country, and I think Murray had a good team, but they weren't the top of the conference that year.
Coached by Frank Beamer.
Frank Beamer was head coach.
Who went on to Virginia Tech notoriety.
That's right. His son is head coach of South Carolina now.
Exactly.
But, Frank Beamer was the head coach. But Thursday night game, I mean, it was a great game. They were playing super, and they scored in the fourth quarter to go up. but I can't remember what it was. And we got the ball back with 4.5 minutes to go, and we drove 80-some yards to score the winning touchdown. But in that drive, we converted 4 fourth down conversions. I remember one was a pass I hit Steve Bird over the middle for about 15 yards. Then we gave the ball to a big fullback named Nicky East, who's a monstrous, low, short, got it. Another one, big one, Alan Page was one of the commentators. And I'll never forget watching it, but Coach Kidd, I was over, we had timeout, and I told Coach, I said, Coach, let's run the boot. I said, I can get the first down, we're going to run the boot. He said, well, you can't get outside them. I said, Coach, I can make it. So we ended up running the boot, and I made it about a yard to spare. But Alan Page, on the commentator on TV, said, well, Woolum is slow as a Turkish Perot, but he got the first down anyway. And then I hit Steve Bird on a little slant on 4th and 3. Then another one we had inside the 10-yard line, and I went back to pass and got hit in the front, got hit in the back, and I spun around. And as I was spinning around backwards, I noticed my fullback, Nicky, I think it was my fullback, standing there. So I flipped the ball over my head to him, and we gained about 4 yards instead of me taking the sack. Then the next play, we scored a touchdown. I hit Steve Bird with the game-winning touchdown, and the fans rushed the field. And gosh, I coached football for 20 years, and every place I went, coaches and people would talk about that game.
Wow.
They remember watching that game. Wow. Was talking about how that was one of the most exciting games they'd ever seen on TV.
21-20 win over Murray State. Wow. How about anything that comes to mind over? I think some folks may not remember the ferocity of the Eastern-Western rivalry.
Man. It was Coach Kidd hated Western so bad. And of course, he competed against Jimmy Fox. They were both quarterbacks. When Coach Kidd was at Eastern, playing quarterback, and Jimmy Fox, who's head coach at Western, then was a quarterback at Western. So that rivalry just boiled into as coaches. But man, I mean, Coach Kidd probably would have been better off staying off the field that week during the Western rivalry because he was nuts. It was tension, and I mean that was one team he wanted to beat.
And you got them pretty good that year.
Yeah, I was 3-1 against Western.
Okay,
so that's pretty good. I mean, I'll brag about that.
Yeah.
In my senior year, though, we went down to Western and played them, and I know I hit Steve for about a 70-yard touchdown pass, and I can't remember everywhere else, but we beat them pretty good that year. And the big thing about it, my wife is a Western graduate, and she's from Pineville, and she was at the game, but she would always wear Eastern stuff and cheer for Eastern for that ball game.
Yeah. Well, take us into the playoffs, Tuck. You're going in 10-0, and I believe you started, was it with Idaho?
Played was Idaho the first game?
Idaho, and then Tennessee State?
Yeah, Idaho. We played Idaho first game of the playoffs. And
pretty high-scoring deal, I believe.
From the Big Sky Conference, and they threw the ball probably 60, 70 times a game.
Yeah.
And I told Coach Kidd for years, and Leon Hart, who was offensive coordinator, I said, we threw the ball, but I never once took a snap out of the shotgun. I said, everything we did was sprint draw action. And here we threw for over 2,000-some yards my senior year.
Right.
And sprint draw action is designed just play action passes stuff. I said, imagine what we could have done if we'd have been in a single wing or shotgun if y'all let me go back there.
You just turned me loose.
But Ken Hobart, he stayed back in there. He threw 400 yards that game. But I ended up throwing for 3 touchdowns that game, I think. And I mean, it was just back and forth. And gosh, Steve Bird had one heck of a game. He had about 3 touchdown catches. And it was just a big win for us. And it was a great game. And I'll tell a little story about that game because you don't hear this happening much. The head coach was Dennis Erickson for Idaho.
Yes.
His offensive coordinator was John Smith or whatever used to be head coach at Louisville.
Okay.
Years ago. So he was the defense coordinator. But I saw them later. But after the game, I got with a guy named Ken Hobart, he ended up playing in Canada for about 6 years as a quarterback. And they were spending. I said, "What are you doing after the game?" He said, "I'm coming to get you." He goes, "Do what?" So I went and picked him up at his motel. We went down. I took him downtown to Richmond. I mean, he couldn't believe it. I think few of them got thrown in jail after that game. They'd never been in town like Richmond after a football game.
When it comes to playoffs, we sometimes hear coaches use that terminology, survive in advance, and you have to win in different ways. So like you say, both teams were marching the ball up and down the field, and you beat Idaho 38-30 in a high-scoring shootout. But you turn around the next week and you beat a Tennessee State team 13-7.
Then we should
so
have
now you got to win a low-scoring game. How'd that come about?
That team was unreal. They back in those days, during the AA playoffs, they had a banquet on Friday night for both teams, wherever you were playing. So they brought both teams in for this banquet. NCAA did this and that. Well, when they walked in for that banquet, I remember us sitting there and just looking, saying, "There's no way." And I heard later, Coach Kidd looked at his coach and said, "Boys, get ready to go recruiting tomorrow because there ain't no way we beat this bunch." Well, I mean, they were unreal. But they ended up having a guy named Richard Dent, who was a Hall of Fame player with the Chicago Bears. Larry Kinnebrew was a running back with the Cincinnati Bengals. But they had 13 guys off that team that got drafted in the NFL that next year. And we scored to open the game. As a matter of fact, I scored on a 6-yard option, running the ball. And I told you, you watch the film, that guy hit. Coach Kidd laughed at me all the time. I said, "Look at that speed." And they said, "Y'all should have ran me more." Well, I come out and I spun, broke a tackle, went in the end zone. He said, "There's no way you did that." I said, "I just did it." But so we went up, and then my best receiver was Charles Armstrong, tight end, broke his jaw that game, so he had to sit out. But during the third quarter, I think it was third quarter, I was running an option and got hit. Richard Dent, who went on to play for the, like I say, Chicago Bears in the Hall of Fame, hit me and knocked me completely out. And I got films in here, and I'm laying down, and I'm looking up, finally wake up, and he's over top of me. I got it on national TV. He's over top of me, and he looked at me and goes, "1 white boy, 2 white boy, you're out." Well, I went to the sideline, and they called my dad. Coach Kidd said, "We could get Jerry down here, whatever." And then I think my Uncle Kerry, who played linebacker at the University of Miami in Florida, was actually going to come down the stands going after Richard Dent. My dad grabbed and said, "What are you going to do to him?" You know. But I think Coach Kidd asked the trainer, Bobby Barton, said, "Can he play?" And he goes, "No, but you're going to get beat if he doesn't anyway." So I went back in. I don't remember any of the game. Now, these days, you wouldn't play forever. But I was completely out of it. But so we scored now, and they had a like I say, running back named Larry Kinnebrew. Well, they would move the ball up and down the field, and they'd get inside the 20, and they'd take Larry Kinnebrew out of the ball game. I mean, here's this guy, 6'2", 220 pounds. And so we ended up holding them every time. And we ended up beating them 14, what was it?
13-7, I believe, yeah.
And they were unreal. Yeah. I mean, talent-wise, there's no way we should have been on that field with them.
Well, you're probably a little beaten up, of course, after a game like that. And I guess
we lost quite a few players.
The national championship game was the very next week, right? It wasn't any 2-week deal. It was just 1 week to get ready.
Week. And, that's what I like to talk about the playoffs now in these schools. Before they finally went to these games, I said, "Guys, I used to play 3 or 4 playoffs games every year." I mean,
that's right.
We got beat up too.
Yeah,
but, I mean,
you better know it.
But so the championship game was the next week in Wichita Falls, Texas.
Yeah. So I guess you all got to get on an airplane to get down there, don't you?
Yeah, we went down like on Tuesday.
Oh yeah.
Before the game, and they had all these festivities. We'd go down there and practice for a few days, and it was. And I remember my dad, my family coming in. My dad and uncles bought this big mobile home going into my senior year, and had this mobile. They took it everywhere. They took it. I mean, all over the country and drove it. But it had my picture painted on the side of it, EKU and this and that. And they drove it all the way to Wichita Falls, Texas, and they pull in, and all of a sudden they get out, and every one of them had these big white sweatsuits on. They were traveling all. There must have been 20 of them on that thing.
The boys from Kentucky
are here. From Kentucky there, that's right. But it was a great experience, and it was a great win. Of course, it capped off our 13-0 season.
Yeah. And, there was some anxiety in that game, I guess.
It
was a 17-14 score.
The wind was blowing probably 30 miles an hour.
Wow.
And throwing the football is probably the worst game I had all year. We just didn't throw it. Because they were scared of the wind. We were doing this and that. I lost my tight end, so I was trying to force everything to Steve Bird, and he knew Steve was the one that, but I mean, we ended up throwing the ball decently, but it got down to, I guess we were up tied maybe, or down, I can't remember the score what it was, but we ended up blocking the field goal.
Wow.
And Gus Parks from Harrisburg picked it up, Gus Parks blocked it. A guy named Richard Bell picked it up, our defensive end, and ran it back about 60, 70 yards for a touchdown. Wow. And then we ended up holding them at the end of the game. Yeah. It's 17-14 was the score. Wow. So we ended up holding them at the end of the game. Delaware was good. They were really good.
You know, one thing I'd like you to expand on just a bit. Two of the most tradition-rich football programs in southeastern Kentucky are Pineville High School and Corbin High School. Tell us just, and you know, we hear about the quarterbacks who say, hey, I've got my guy, I know him, he knows me. There's just some kind of magic in that kind of hookup. So you've got Tuck Woolum, the Pineville High School graduate, Steve Bird, the Corbin High School graduate. Tell us a little bit about, I guess the word synergy, but tell us about that kind of connection, I guess is the word.
I developed in high school. I knew Steve in high school. Of course, his dad played at Kentucky, and his uncles played at Kentucky, and, you know, my dad played at Kentucky. So we got to know each other through school and played basketball against each other, football against each other. But my sophomore year, we were roommates at Eastern. And then, but we just developed a friendship and relationship that was hard to beat. We were always together doing things, but as a football player, Steve may have been probably one of the best football players I ever played with. I mean, he just had so much talent, speed, quickness, hands. He just knew how to make plays. I just had trust in him, and he had trust in me. I mean, if I got the ball, and matter of fact, it's funny story. Both of us got inducted into Eastern Kentucky University Hall of Fame at the same time. And I was at the Hall of Fame. Steve was coaching, was still coaching, but he in college coaching, so he couldn't make the banquet. It's in the video in. But for years, Coach Kidd would always, every time I get around Steve or he would get around us, he'd say, Woolum, Bird made you. Woolum, Bird made you.
There you
know,
go.
so we're at the Hall of Fame banquet with Steve was there, and the first thing I did, I got up and started speaking. And I said, with everybody here, if Steve's not here, I know he can't take up for himself, and I won't tell everybody this. For years, I've heard Coach Kidd tell everybody that Bird made me. Well, I want everybody in this room right here to know, and I want you, Coach Roy Kidd, to know, I made Steve Bird.
Let's set the record straight. I love it.
But he was we just had confidence in each other.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And, you know, if we got down to needing the first down or needing to catch it, I knew I could go to him. And it was just, we had that connection and that chemistry together. And, you know, we worked at it. We practiced hard at it. We stay out after practice with each other and throwing during the summers. But he was you know, came from the Bird family, so they're all great athletes. But, I mean, he was a player.
We've talked about those coaching influences. I want to mention a couple at EKU. Your quarterback coach, and here's what Coach Leon Hart said. He said, obviously your ability stands out, but he said Tuck's ability to make everyone in the huddle believe was what made him special, and that is a big time important quarterback trait that a lot of folks probably don't put enough stock in, but your ability to make everyone in the huddle believe that we were going to win, we were going to make this play was what made you special. Tell us a little bit about that relationship with Leon Hart.
Okay, well, I think number one, that first goes back to my dad, because growing up, he always told me if I was going to be a quarterback, then I had to be the leader of the team. And, you know, he put that trait in me and all that. Coach Hart was my quarterback coach from the first time I ever got at Eastern, and you know, he was a friend, but he was my coach, and I respected him. But he treated me unreal. Things he taught, he was a great coach, a great motivator, and just the confidence he showed in me. But we would do little things, and he would teach me little things that I needed to do as a quarterback. And I mean, he's the best coach I ever played for. And I got more respect for him, except for Roy Kidd. And I got more respect for him than any coach I've ever had, because he taught me a lot. And now we're still talk all the time. We're friends, and he's been to my lake house a few times, and we've been to Florida fishing. But he's just a great person, and like he believed in me, and that made it easier for me to believe in him and what he was trying to teach me.
Right. Yeah. Well, when you think about the teaching of your father, here's a little commonality here. You know, in the 2 years at Madison Model High School playing for Roy Kidd, your dad has a lot of Roy Kidd in him.
Oh, yeah.
Now you've got a lot of Roy Kidd in you, as well as your dad, Jerry Woolum, but you've certainly got a lot of Roy Kidd in you. Super successful coach. Some of you, well, I mean, we can go on and on. I want to hear from you, but many people in the state of Kentucky believe that if Roy Kidd, if the right person at the University of Kentucky had picked up the telephone and called Roy Kidd, the University of Kentucky football fortunes could be would have been very different during that time, and maybe moving on ahead into our time. He was that great of an excellent football coach.
There's no doubt in my mind. University of Kentucky definitely missed out. Coach Kidd wasn't going to leave just to go anywhere. I mean, he was offered jobs. He was offered the Navy head job, different places, and he just wasn't interested. Eastern. He always said Eastern is my school. It's where I played, and that's where I want to be. But without a doubt, he would have taken the Kentucky job. He was there. He was close getting it a couple of times. I know my father, they called my dad one time, and they were going to hire Roy Kidd. Coach Kidd came to me, is there for the convention, and said, Tuck, you're one of 2 or 3 coaches I'm going to take with me. Will you go to Kentucky if I get the job? And this was when I first got out of coaching. First got in coaching. I was coaching Eastern. I said, you better believe I will. And he said, all right, we got to go to the convention, but you're supposed to call me back after the convention. I think I've got the job. And they had been to the committee and voting this and that, but they told Coach Kidd, we got one more person to talk to, but we're going to offer you the job. Well, we heard at the convention they hired Bill Curry, so. I mean,
oh, boy.
You know what I mean? They made. I admired Coach Curry, but he wasn't a Roy Kidd. Mm-hmm. And just the things, I mean, to me, Roy Kidd's the best coach in college football. Just the way, he demanded a lot, and like I said, you were scared of him, but you respected him, and you knew. And Coach Kidd let his coaches coach, but they knew who was the boss. I mean, if it came down to make a decision and whatever, they knew Roy Kidd was going to make that decision. Roy Kidd was the boss, but he let his players play, let his coaches coach, but you want to do it the right way. And he was such a stickler on doing the things the right way. And little things, technique, and teaching new techniques, and making sure the proper, just so many little things that made him such a great coach. But players believed in him and respected him. Not all of them didn't like him, not all of them. Mm-hmm. But a lot loved him. And at his funeral, it was amazing the number of former players that came back for his funeral. It was unreal.
We mentioned his loyalty to EKU, and I'm not sure if we've mentioned that his high school playing days were at Corbin High School.
Yeah, it was at Corbin High School.
So,
you got the Roy Kidd street or something right down going down the stadium.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I say Coach Kidd and I used to, he said, well, I used to kill Powell. I said, Coach, I sit here where Powell will beat you. What do you mean? No, they didn't.
Yeah, there we go.
I went losing Powell.
Well, Tuck, football so in your blood, of course, and so you spent a few years, obviously, in the college game, even a conference coach of the year, and as an assistant, as a head coach. Did it take a little bit to get that out of your system?
Oh, yeah. I loved coaching. And I loved college coaching. I was at 3 to 4 different schools, and we came back to Pineville, and I became head coach at Union College. And at that level, it's so hard recruiting-wise, and it just takes a toll on you after a while. Mm-hmm. But my wife's a physician here in Pineville, and she moved all around with me and this and that, and we moved back to Pineville. She said, that's it.
There you go.
So her and my dad ended up going into practice together, and she said, we're not moving anymore. I said, that's great. And Pineville High School offered me a job, and I was there for 20-some years, 22 years. So,
well, and I think we've talked about the influence that Tuck Woolum had on you, of course, but and on the program and on the success of the Pineville program. So obviously you coached a number of years without a child in the program, but you were also coaching when your son Tucker came along, right?
My first son, Tyler, my oldest son.
Okay, yes.
I coached him in junior high. I was a head coach at Pineville.
Okay.
And then when he started coming in as a freshman, I just said, no, I'm not going to coach my own son here at Pineville, especially at a small school. Mm-hmm. I didn't think it was fair to him and this and that. So I actually didn't coach Tyler in high school. He played at Pineville, and he goes on. Tyler went on to the Citadel down Charleston, South Carolina, and then graduated from Lincoln Memorial University DCOM School in emergency medicine, and now he's a physician in Austin, Texas.
Well, that's cool.
But Tyler was a heck of a good player. He got a picture there in the record, 100-some yard interception return against Everett one year.
Now, what were his positions on
He
the
was
field?
quarterback early, defensive back, then they moved him to receiver, then Bart Eaglin came in the last 4 or 5 games of his senior year running back, and he was averaging like 200 yards rushing a game. Wow. I mean, he was a good player. So then I started coaching junior high with Tucker.
I see.
And Coach Tucker, elementary, from 2nd grade all the way up to the 8th grade. And when Tucker got in high school, and I had quit coaching high school for about 6 years, and Bart Eaglin was the head coach. And Tucker came in, and Bart asked if I just help. And I said, sure. So I went. Tucker, Tyler, I don't think wanted me to coach him. Tucker did want me to coach him. So there was a difference in the way they were. But Tucker, it took a lot. So I enjoyed it. So I got a chance to coach Tucker for 4 years when I was in high school.
And he was a 4-year starter. Tucker, golly, he threw for over, I'm showing 6,331 career yards.
He's got to have the
66 touchdown passes. And, oh, my gosh.
And what happened was, his first year we didn't run that, but when he was going into sophomore year, we brought Steve Bird in, who'd been at West Virginia and different places, to help us put in the offensive people was running now, the
how mummy,
the spread offenses and RPOs, and things like that. So Steve put all that in, which Tucker fit perfect. So I said, I'd love to have an offense like this, but we threw and run. But Tucker was a heck of an athlete. He threw. He's got school record. He's got to be over 6,000 yards.
He is.
And he rushed for like 3,000 yards his career too.
Yeah.
So he was a heck of a player. And
I saw him beat Harlan one night almost by himself.
He beat Harlan after his junior year.
Man, that was a heck of a football game.
Yeah, he actually beat Harlan that year by himself.
Because I think Harlan ended up scoring with, maybe even almost under a minute on the clock to take the lead. And here comes Tucker, brings him right back.
Tucker's a winner now. He loved it. He was a leader. And he ended up signing with Western Carolina University and stayed there for 3 years and then finished up at Georgetown College his last 2 years.
Yeah, okay. So, and now living in Corbin?
Now lives in Corbin as a pharmaceutical salesman. He got married.
Super.
Keep waiting for him to give me a grandbaby.
That's right.
I've got 6 grandsons, but he didn't give me one yet.
So you've got the two boys, and now tell us about your 2 girls.
Okay, my oldest daughter, Rebecca, lives in Knoxville. She's got 4 sons. She's married... Better tell you a story of her getting married. They were living in Lexington, or in Louisville. She was teaching in Louisville. She got married, her husband, and they met with crew in New York City. And so he had a church in New York as a pastor. So they got married. So Becky and him moved to New York City. Here, and Martha and I are driving the truck, moving the furniture, driving down through the Lincoln Tunnel and all this. It was crazy. But they got up there, and Becky got pregnant. And they decided they didn't want to stay in Knoxville. So they moved to New York with the baby. So they moved to just outside Cape Girardeau, Missouri, a place called Oak Ridge. So when my first grandson was born, Martha and I went to the population sign. It said 236. We put +1. So here they come from Manhattan to there. But they live in Knoxville now. Yeah. The son-in-law is a pastor of a church and works for a company called... Star, I believe. He travels the country revitalizing churches.
Oh, great.
And Becca raises 4 boys.
Yes, sir.
So they got 4 grandchildren. And Kelsey, my other daughter, lives here in Pineville. Her son's a state trooper who was on the task force with the governor. So he travels with them. And Kelsey's an elementary teacher. She's got 2 boys, ages 5 and 2.
Well, it wasn't just Tuck Woolum that got this whole thing going. I believe there's someone named Martha Combs Woolum. Let me get this totally correct. Dr. Martha Combs Woolum.
That's exactly. People always asked me when I was growing up if I was going to be a doctor like my daddy. I said, hey, no, I'm not smart enough. I'm going to marry one.
We got us another Doc
We've
Woolum.
been married for 40 years now, so.
It's quite a family here in Pineville, Tuck, if I may insert this. The Combs family that Martha grew up in means a lot to this community, doesn't it?
So much. Her mom and dad were pillars. Her dad was from Pineville, grew up in Pineville, went to Pineville schools. Then he ended up going to pharmacy. He went to art school in Pittsburgh. And he was up there and met Martha's mom. And she told him, I'm not going to marry a artist. You got to do something else. So he ended up going to pharmacy school in Pittsburgh. But then he brought her back to Pineville. And gosh, they've been here ever since. That was early years. Wow. And so they owned the Floco drugstore down in Pineville. And Mason was an artist. And Rosemary, Martha's mom, just passed away a few months ago. She would have been 101 years old July 4th.
Wow.
But everybody in Pineville loves her. She was just unreal. And, we miss her in our family because she kept our family together and just meant so much to everybody.
Yeah.
And the whole family does. And she's got 5 brothers and sisters, so they're all.
Well, the doctors.
But I'm proud of her. She's,
oh my gosh, the doctors in a small town such as Pineville, that's a person who's a real difference maker for so many families who trust her and believe in her.
Martha's a big time difference maker, just like my dad was as a physician. And Martha and my dad both were in practice together for a long time, but now they went their own ways and they're not in private practice anymore. But Martha probably is, if not, I'm sure it's the biggest practice in Pineville, and probably Bell County, and just so many people, and the way people talk about her and how much she cares for them and how much she cares for her patients.
Right.
And for her to be able to raise 4 kids, put up with me, take care of her practice, it's just amazing. She's one heck of a woman.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that to be a fact.
I'm lucky, very lucky.
Yes, sir. One other thing that just dawned on me, that 1982 year of you winning the national championship, and in the Kidd household, we've mentioned that you and I chatting that one of your close friends is Keith Kidd. Keith graduated from Madison Central High School.
Right. Keith was a good quarterback.
He was a good quarterback, but also, Tuck, he played on that 40-0 Madison Central State,
team.
the only undefeated state baseball championship team in Kentucky.
Then he went on and played baseball at Florida State.
Yeah.
He was a good quarterback. He was a great baseball player.
On our Sports History Foundation website, we've got a documentary about that 40-0 Madison Central team. We call it the perfect season.
Perfect season.
That's unheard of.
I remember I was playing
through a baseball season undefeated.
I was playing at Easter when all that went on. Of course, Keith would come to practices all the time, and everybody on the team knew Keith. And afterwards, Keith and I became good friends, and he got into coaching and got in the field for 20-some years. And so we've been friends.
I know Keith Madison recruited him hard. He wanted him at UK bad, but he made that choice to go to Florida State. Which, heck of an athlete right there,
too.
He
was. He was a heck of an athlete and a good person.
Sure.
No, the whole Kidd family is, and I've been close with all the family and the kids, and they just treated me so well. And but Coach Kidd and Sue Kidd is, special to me, Coach Kidd's wife. And they're just a great family.
One other thing I want to mention, Tuck, is you're organizing the 1979 through 1982 EKU football reunion. The 4 teams, 4 years in a row, who played in the national championship game. And I think you ought to be pretty good at doing that, because when we talk about this Pineville community, I want you to say, if you will, a little something about the reunion, but also the fact that you've had a little something, a whole lot of something, to do with a whole lot of super successful Kentucky Mountain Laurel festivals in this town of Pineville, by golly.
Well, I was chairman 3 times. I've been on the advisory board for years.
A lot of work.
Did Thursday nights for years and years, and because it was just an honor, to be able to do things with them. And your dad was big time in the Mountain Laurel Festival.
Yes, sir.
And your whole family, but it's just a great. People haven't been there. You need to come see it. It's a great event that goes on for 4 days, and it's a Pineville. We're awful proud of it.
Yes.
When you grow up here, you want to be a part of it. And I had the opportunity. I think I'm one of me and Jimmy Roden, I think, are the only 2 people who have been chairman 3 times. And then I ran Thursday night forever. And, I'm a director. That's just a great event.
Yes, it really is.
But now we're putting on right now, and we've had a couple reunions at Easter with the national championship team. We got put in the Hall of Fame as a team, 10 years ago, and we had a reunion then we had our 40th reunion a few years ago. And so one of my coaches, Tom Jones, who was our offensive line coach, and came to me and he said, Tuck, y'all need to have a reunion every year. So you don't know how many more reunions you're going to have. Well, it's been a while since we had one for 79 team. We had a big, Danny Hope organized a big one a few years ago, his wife did. But I said, we've never really honored the 80 and 81 team. And those teams were, one was 12-2, and the other one was 14 or something like it, but it went to the national championship game. People, I don't think you realize this, in 1980, we're playing Boise State in Sacramento, California. We score with 50 seconds to go in the game to go up 4 points for a second national championship in a row. Well, Boise State drives 80 yards. They got a 4th and 10 on the 10-yard line with 4 seconds left on the clock. And the quarterback sprints out to the right. We're getting ready to tackle him. He stops. He throws the ball completely to the other side of the field. A guy standing in the corner of the end zone, feet barely in, catches it. The clock expires. They end up beating us for the national championship. Well, that'd have been 3 national championships.
Yeah.
Then the next year in '81, we got Idaho State thumped us pretty good. But so we really hadn't had a chance. We've not really honored those 2 teams. So I came up, and me and a couple other guys came up with the idea to have a reunion of all 4 teams that played in the national championship game. And it's been unreal. We're doing that August the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, I believe.
October,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And Coach Wells and Eastern Football has helped us with a lot of things. I've worked with Walt, trying to get things done. They're doing a lot. We've got things out. We're having a big event on Friday night in downtown Richmond and tailgating all day Saturday. And we've got close to 40 rooms reserved at one motel these guys are coming at, and other rooms they got other places. So that's going to be 40 of us at least in families in one motel, which will be crazy. But it's going to be a great. I talked to a guy today. There was a senator from New Jersey, and he hadn't been back in 50 years on the 79 80 team. He hadn't been back since.
Wow.
And we got a bunch of guys like that.
Uh-huh.
So, I think they're realizing, and not keeping sending me money. I said, well, you don't need to do that all that much. He said, let me tell you something. Eastern gave me a scholarship, and I won a national championship. And to me, that's a big difference right now in college athletics now than what it was back then. I mean, guys came in, when I played, we came in, we worked, we waited our time, we sat there, when we got an opportunity, we played. And we all lived in the same dorm together at Eastern. That was one big thing. I mean, we had a football dorm, and we all lived together. We may not like each other, but we lived with each other, respected each other. But the tightness and all that, and here we're having these reunions, and all these guys are coming back because of how close we were and everything we went through together. So I think it's pretty cool.
Wow, definitely. And you're so right. What a different day and age we're in now. My gosh. Sir.
I couldn't coach college football. There's no way. Now, I wouldn't mind getting a handshake some of the money, but
that's right. That's right.
I told somebody one time, they're talking about the NIL money and this and that. And I said, you know what? I can remember one time a guy shook my hand. I got a $50 bill.
Gone the next day. Oh, sure. Well, I'll tell you, it just doesn't get any better than reminiscing with, golly, the big EKU national championship teams and the glory days at Pineville High School. What about
all those
that?
were fun, yeah.
Because it means so much to the community, too.
It did. It meant so much to this community. Yeah. And, I've just been blessed going through high school, through college. And like I say, the going through high school was great and all this. But when I went to college, all my buddies, John Cohn, my buddies, Robert Rohn, they would all come to all my games. And I can remember as a senior, they thought I was nuts. So I said, guys, Beaver said, how do I know if you're going to throw a pass? I want to make us bets up there. It was probably illegal now. But anyway, I can remember walking up, and if we were passing, they were sitting in the stands on the other side, and I walk up and throw a Beaver and say, hit my helmet, it's going to be a run. If I come down and hit my leg before I get under center, it's going to be a pass.
I love it.
But they loved it. It was.
And there's nothing like the hometown friends you grew up with. And
It was either the friends I grew up with and stayed friends and still friends, and now being back in Powell. There's not a lot of them still here, but it was close now. I mean, when you only have 20-some guys, people in the graduating class, each we have pretty good.
That's right.
So, but it's been a blessed life. I tell you, I had a great family. My family, Martha's family, great children.
For sure.
Great grandchildren. It's just been great brothers. I had 3 brothers played at Pineville, and my other brother, Mark, went on, played 4 years at Eastern as a quarterback. Sean went on to sign with Eastern, stayed 1 year, then played for 3 years for me at Union.
Wow.
And then Eric signed with Eastern, didn't stay, and played a year. So, then Mark coaches in Florida now, so.
Fantastic. I'll tell you. Randy Mills for Sports History Now. What an enjoyable afternoon with Pineville High School and Eastern Kentucky University football legend Tuck Woolum. And to recount 3 generations of quarterback excellence in our state. The apple fell from the amazing career of Jerry Doc Woolum, big time, to Tuck, and then to Tuck's son, Tucker Woolum. And I think that Tuck even called him out a bit, and I'm going to second that motion and say for Tucker, Now the apple is in your hands, Tucker.
That's exactly right.
It's on you, big boy. How about that?
That's exactly. Well, I've got 6 grandsons, so I don't know if it's going to be. He said it's going to be a girl. He knows, but we'll wait and see. I think he's getting close to getting ready.
There we go. Well, thanks so much, Tuck. It's just been awesome to be with you today.
Thank you all so much. I've enjoyed it. It's a true honor and a pleasure to get on your show with you, and I appreciate it so much.
So fun to stroll down memory lane.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Today's episode is brought to you by another of our Sports History Now supporters, Appalachian Regional Healthcare, the healthcare system of Appalachia. Friends like Holly Harris of Appalachian Regional Healthcare help us to continue to bring episodes of Sports History Now to life.